Good morning. My name is Mrs. Tracy, and today we're going to do some more fractions. Who is ready? Our Module 5 Lesson 2 objective today is to decompose fractions as a sum of a unit fraction using a tape diagram. So our first problem is to look at the fraction of this circle. So what you're going to do is, what fraction can you write? How many equal parts does the circle have? So the circle has 4 equal parts, but what fraction is shaded? 3/4 of the fraction is shaded. So I'm going to write 3/4. So 3/4 of the fraction is shaded. 1, 2, 3. If you're writing this down, what kind of equation could we make? So we could write 3/4 is equal to 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4. So that's one way that we could write this equation. But there are many other ways that we could also write the equation for this fraction. So we can also say 3/4 is equal to 2/4, so this side, 2/4 plus 1/4, that side, and you get 3/4. Another way we could write it is if you turn that around and you could say 3/4 equal, and you put this one first, 1/4 plus 2/4 over here. So that's 3 different ways that you can write this fraction. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to look up different ways to write equations for fractions. So our next one, we are going to have the number 1. And in the number 1, we're going to use fourths as our denominator. And so we're going to say this one is going to be 2. So we're going to say 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4. So that all equals, plus 2/4. That all equals 4/4. And I know that 4 over 4 equal 1. And so if I have that equation, that's one way I can write it. What's another way I could write this? So if I have 1 and it's out of 4, I can do 2/4 plus 2/4. So now I have 2/4 plus 2/4 equals 4/4, which equals my 1. And another way I could write this is if I had 3/4 plus 1/4, which equals 4/4, which equals 1. So that is 3 different ways that you could write equations for 4/4 or for 1. We are going to try some of the problem set in which you are going to do the same thing, but make sure you read the directions carefully because it can be a little tricky. And so make sure you read the steps. So step 1, it says, draw and shade a tape diagram of the given fraction. Step 2, record the decomposition as a sum of the unit fraction. Step 3, record the decomposition of the fraction 2 more ways. So A is done for you. So the number is 5/8. And so what you have here is you have 8 out of 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you colored in 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5/8 equals 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8. But what other two ways could you write that number? So 5/8 equals, I know I can do 2/8 plus 2/8 plus 1/8 because 2 plus 2 plus 1 also equals 5. And I know 2 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 also equal 5. Okay, let's try it with 9/10. So I am going to make a tape diagram, and like I said before, you want to use a straight edge, and if you don't have a straight edge, just try your best to make your tape diagram straight. So what I'm going to do is we're going to have it out of 10. So I am going to draw my tape diagram nice and big. And if it's out of 10, I'm going to draw 9 lines. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I have to make one more, 9. And it colors in 9 of them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I know that this entire thing right here equals 1 whole. Now I am going to write 3 different equations that are equal to 9/10. So my first one, I know 9/10 is equal to 1/10 plus 1/10 plus 1/10, 9 times plus 1/10 plus 1/10 plus 1/10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plus 1/10 plus 1/10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1/10. Now I'm going to make another equation for that one. So I am going to go, I know 9/10 equals, I know 4 plus 5 is 9, so I'm going to go 4/10 plus 5/10, and that equals 9/10. Another one I can do, 9/10 equals 6/10 plus 3/10. So those are 3 different equations that I could write all for the same tape diagram and the same fraction. We're going to try one more before you try it on your own. The next one that we try is 3/2. So this one is an improper fraction. And so remember, when I have 3/2, that is an improper fraction because there are more on the top than there is on the bottom. And so in order to draw my improper fraction, I make my tape diagram. And now instead of the denominator, you're going to use the numerator to determine how many blocks. So 1, 2, 3. So I have 3, but 2 is my whole number because it's out of 2. So I know 2/2 equals 1. So that's my whole number. That equals 1. Those are colored in, but now there's also one extra one. So that one is also colored in. So now I have to write 3 different equations. So my first equation I'm going to write for 3/2 is 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/2. So I have 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/2 is 3/2. What's another way I can write 3/2? Oh, I know. 3/2 equals 2/2 plus 1/2. That gives me another equation. And the last way I could write this, I know 2/2 is 1, so I can go 3/2 equals 1 plus 1/2, and that gives me 3/2. So those are 3 different ways you can write the same equation. So go ahead and try it on your own and let me know if you need any help.